All right, good day, you all. This is BBM, the Billionaire Mentor, and you're welcome back to another yet exciting episode of our free forex class, beginner to the advanced level. Yep. So today we're talking about Trendline. Yeah, we're looking into a very, very interesting topic called Trendline. So basically speaking, Trendline shows the current trend of an asset. Do you understand? It shows the direction of an asset. It's actually one of the most important tools for trend direction. It is one of the most widely used tools in this financial market. You understand? One of the most widely used tools in this financial market. Now, for instance, those assume we have this basic price action. You have your higher, you have your higher low, and then your higher low. Just bring out your trend line to map out the trend direction. Do you understand? You map out your trend direction. So we know when price touches here, what are we expecting? We're expecting a bounce of the trend line. Do you understand? Most of the time, we're always expecting a bounce of your trend line. So basically speaking, your first touch here, second touch, your third touch here, then price should do something like this, bounce off it again. Do you understand? So when price bounces off your trend line, what do you want to do? You want to extend the trend line again. It means the trend line is still valid. It means the trend line is still valid or is still active. Do you understand? Either say it is active or valid, anyone you say. So in the nearest future, we'll be expecting the price to do what? Come back to this trend line. Then when the price comes back to this trend line, we'll be expecting a reaction, either to still keep on expecting the trend line or it breaks the trend line to the downside, then retest. Do you understand? Breaks the trend line to the downside, then retest. Like this, we've actually established under trend line, but we won't be looking at that for now. So we later on the video. So this for an uptrend. Then in the downtrend, when you're having your consecutive lower high, your lower low, lower high, your lower low, your lower high, your lower low, your lower high, and your lower low. You draw your trend line from the top here, because the order flow, the current market structure is actually bearish. Do you understand? So you want to see price respect the trend line. Do you understand? You want to see what price respect the trend line. So we have the first touch here, the second touch here, the third touch. We're expecting price to bounce off the provided you've accurately drawn out your trend line. You want to expect the third touch. The third touch of the trend line is what we expected. So when price touches the third time, the price comes down, gets there again, it reacts until the price validates the trend line. You will still be looking for downside. But now, since the price has validated the trend line, what are we looking for? We're looking for a retest, then continuation to the opposite side. So anytime you notice that your trend line has been invalidated or violated, it simply is an indication that we want to start looking to the opposites of the current of the initial trend. Do you understand? So it means if the initial trend was bearish, just like you can see here, yeah, if this initial trend was bearish, now the price action broke this trend line, it simply means you shouldn't be selling again. Even if you have been used to selling, and you notice the trend line has been broken, you don't want to sell anymore. You want to start looking for a buys opportunity. You want to now join the bulls to ride to the top. Then bring out your new trend line. Bring out your new trend line. You can see, bring out your new trend line. Then you expect the price to keep on going to the upside. Keep on going to the upside until it breaks again. Start looking for selling opportunity. So this is basically how to trade your trend line. You understand? Basically, you can actually even use those trend lines to trade, and you'll be profitable, and it's actually not bad. So now, trend line can also be used as support and resistance. That's why we have something they call support trend line and resistance trend line. For your support trend line, it's just you drawing out the trend line on the base, like the bottom of the price action, to support the price. Basically speaking, it's mostly used for an uptrend. Do you understand? It's mostly used for an uptrend. That is, if you are looking for buys opportunity, you'll be expecting price to bounce off it. Do you understand? If this price is actually supporting the trend to the upside, something like this. you have this story. You have this kind of price action. Yeah, I'm just giving you guys this more pattern. Then later on, go to the chart. So you could easily label this part your support trend line. You understand? You want to double click on it, then double click on it, then type your name, support trend line. Your support trend line. Then you have your resistance trend line. Let me make the text a little bit bigger. Let me give the example, say 14. So this is your support trend line here. This is your support trend line. Simply means you don't expect price to break it. So once price breaks this uptrend, you don't want to do what? You don't want to be buying again. Once price breaks this uptrend, you don't want to buy in again. What do you want to do? You want to capitalize on the flip zone. Then start with selling. You want to start with selling. Start looking for your selling opportunity. So now to the downtrend, you have your low, you have your high, you have your lower low, you have your lower high, you have your lower low, you have a lower high, you have a lower low, you have a lower high, you have a lower low, and like that. So you draw out your trend line on the top. For your downtrend, is going to be serving as what? A resistance. Why? Because we want to respect the current order flow. We want to respect the current market trend. Do you understand? But if you don't want to respect the current market trend, then you draw it down here. Do you understand? So here we want to, how will I say it? We want to look for sales. That means when price touches this zone, you want to go to your lower time frame or look for entry confirmation depending on the kind of entry confirmation you later adopt. So when price gets here, you want to start selling. When price gets to this next trend line, you want to expect what? Your sell. Do you understand? Depending on your entry pattern, do you understand? I'm not saying you should sell directly on the trend line. You can if you want to, but it's not an advice. It's not an advice, please. So you want to sell. Yeah, ideally speaking, you want to sell. So you have to look for your entry patterns or entry confirmation to start selling. The point price gets here also, you want to sell. Like you all know, your trend line will never keep on holding forever and ever. It will definitely break. There's always an end to something. Do you understand? It could easily be manipulated. Price could easily break your trend line away, then continue selling. Continue selling. Do you understand? Yes, that is how will I say it. We can't have 100% weight in this market. It's not even possible. It's not possible. We can't have 100% win rate. So you could be prone to manipulations. You will be prone to manipulation. Do you understand? So, however, your entering approach, your entering strategy is what will actually save you a lot. If you understand, if your entering strategy is very, very nice and okay, it will actually save you a lot from being manipulated. Do you understand? However, manipulation is inevitable, just like the SL is inevitable. So, you want to sell on the touch of this trend line, as simple as on the top of your resistance trend line. Resistance what? Trend line. Sorry. Your resistance trend line. Yeah, so you want to sell at the top of your resistance trend line. Hold on, please. Let me quickly see it too. Let's see what the stress of. I'm going to see it again. Support trend line. Alright, so do you understand? Now, let's go a little bit further. Now, using your both the support and resistance trend line on a single, on a single price movement or on a single order flow. So we have this here as our bullish order flow. We pick this your trend line to then connect the first two. Do you understand? I'll make it very, very simple because I want to make it the textbook pattern before we go into the chart. Do you understand? So you want to sell. Please pay attention. If you are only using your trend line, after you've connected, please note that your trend line becomes valid only when you have to touch of the trend line. Do you understand? If you have just one, you cannot just anticipate the trend line. It doesn't make any sense. Do you understand? It becomes more valid when you have two touches. Then you anticipate for the third touch, look for the entry pattern, then you don't look for the. Do you understand? So in an uptrend, if you want to counter trade, which I don't advise my students to. However, if you want to backtest it, you can backtest it and forward test it before you actually start trading it. So, but it's not accurate. I won't lie for it, it's not accurate. Because you are going against the trend. You don't really know if the price you actually respect. Most of the time, price will not definitely respect. Most of the time, price will not respect your counter trades if you want to pick your sell in an uptrend. So, in this scenario, you have a first touch, you have a second touch here. The next place you'll be anticipating is that price you should come around this or support and your resistance trend line here. Do you understand? Your resistance trend line. You'll be anticipating that price comes to touch your resistance trend line. When price gets here, you want to look for your selling opportunity or your selling confirmation or whatsoever entry. Then you want to dump the price to the next trend line here. But you don't know if the price is coming down to this place or it will just come to this place. You don't know. So this is why I don't advise counter trades. I don't advise counter trade except you want to use some other conferences like your support resistance or whatsoever, other institutional whatsoever. So basically speaking, now this forms what we call our channel, ascending channel. Then this, of course, like you have known, this is going to be your descending channel. You understand? So when price does this and mistakenly breaks this, when price breaks this to this downside, you know that okay, your ascending channel has ended. So what are we waiting for? Is to sell. This is just basic textbook chart pattern. Do you understand? So this trend line is what actually formed most of your chart patterns like your peanuts, your megaphone, your whatsoever, name them. So trend line actually formed them. Even your head and shoulder, name them. The trend line is actually the basis of every of those things. Now let's start with talking about chart pattern so you understand very, very well, hopefully. So you want to draw out from this touch down to this touch here. I want to make everything very, very simple and neat. So I will have to push all these ones back here to accommodate, so at least you guys will understand. So something like this, you don't want to see manipulations there. You want to accommodate. And anytime you are drawing out your trend line, you want to consider the wick, not just the body. You want to consider the wick. So basically speaking, these are the basic truth about your trend line. Let me see if, let's go to the charts. I think there is nothing to talk about again here. Let's go into the chart now. You want to draw your trend line from the swing points here. Accommodate everything. Yeah. You understand? So basically speaking, this is currently a downtrend. Later on, I will explain how to compare everything with the market structure. You have your low, your high, your lower low, your lower high, your next lower low, your lower high, and this low is still protected. It has not been broken yet, so we are seeing a downtrend until this high becomes validated. If this trend line gets validated, and then as it validates it breaks above this line. Let me explain. You have this as your low. That is your high, rather. This is your low. This is your lower low. So this is your lower high. This is your lower low here. This is your lower high. This is your next lower low. This is your lower high. And this is your lower low. This is not a lower high yet. Why? Because it has not printed the lower low. I already taught you guys on how to map all these things out. So the only reason you will see this change, you have now gotten a change of character or a change in trend or change in market trend, is when this place breaks above here. Is when it's what breaks above here on the monthly time frame. When it breaks above this monthly time line, they will not say, okay, yes, price has now changed direction to the what? To the bears, to the bulls rather. You don't understand, or to the uptrend. But for now, on the monthly time frame, based on the monthly time frame here, as you can see here, the market trend is pretty much bearish. It's pretty much what bearish. So let me see. So you want to be looking for what? Downside, selling opportunities. You understand? You want to look for selling opportunities. So we have the inner trend line, like I've said, we have the what? Inner trend line. This is the inner trend line. The inner trend line is not as strong as your counter trend, your normal trend line. Do you understand? Your inner trend line is not as strong as your normal trend line. I could have this as your inner trend line. So when price touches here, it dumps. You can sell from it. But when price breaks it, you can now start with looking for buying opportunity, break out the test, then start looking for buying opportunity to the next after trend line. I think we are clear with that. This is your inner trend line. From here, draw your lines out here to touch this one. Then you're looking out for inner pullbacks. Then buy to this next zone here. Do you understand? So that is your inner trend line. let me go drop down to a more lower time frame. If we see something, let me clear this chart off. Let me drop to a more lower time frame. Let me see like 4 hours time frame. Alright, so based on this current order flow, this is just complicate any issue. This is a pure proper downtrend. You don't want to draw a trend line like this. You don't want to draw a trend line like this. No, this is not how to draw a trend line. This is not how to draw a trend line. You want to accommodate the weak. This is not how I draw my trend line. I see people do that very, very well. This is not how I draw my trend line. This is how I draw my trend line. I go from week to week. I make sure the week symbolizes manipulation. You understand? So anytime you want to manipulate again, it will accommodate it. Unlike you bringing out your trend line here, you think you might fall out of this false breakouts here. You might think tried one to so I don't do that. I use the week. You understand? In order for us not to fall into manipulation. So this is our normal trend line. This is our resistance trend line. This is our normal outer trend line. Then we have our inner trend line. This is my inner trend line. You can draw my inner trend line here. This from here, from this point basically to this point here. This is my inner trend line. You can see that this trend line, sorry. Now this trend line has been broken to the upside. Do you understand? So if you are using just your what is it? Just your trend line. You're not using any confluences yet. You're not using our support resistance. You're not using any Fibonacci yet. I'm just basically talking about trend line now. So from year to year, or basically speaking, we just come in to accommodate, then wait for a new reaction here, because this piece has been broken. It has been broken now. Since it has been broken, it's now against our shorts because we don't want to sell. This outer trend line is telling us we want to look for selling opportunity. So this inner trend line now is telling us to buy because the trend line has been broken. But we don't want to do that. Do you understand? You don't want to do that. We want to wait for the price to align. So what I'm going to do, bring this out here to this point here and wait for a reaction. I cannot drop down to a more lower time frame. Maybe say 1 hour time frame. Then what do you want to do? You want to draw a counter trend. Do you understand? You want to draw a counter trend. Now your counter trend is always going to be against. So in an uptrend, in a downtrend, your counter trend is going to be uptrend. This is downtrend now. We are looking to sell. So because you are looking to sell, your counter trend is going to go up so that when it's touch here and breaks below, once this thing it finishes whole movement, does something like this, it breaks here. Once it has broken this counter trend, wait for a test, then look for a selling opportunity. Do you understand? We'll talk about entry later on. You have several kind of entries to use, but don't worry for now. I think counter trend line is not bad. Wait for your counter trend line to break. Do you understand? You can actually use this on any time frame you actually want to trade. You can use this on any market you want. Let's go to crypto markets. Let me say, let me use Bitcoin, BTC, USDT, crypto. This is basically crypto. Let me use OKX. Yeah, basically crypto. Can use any time frame you want. Can start from any time frame you actually want to start from. Let me start from the daily time frame. So from my daily time frame, of course, you want to shrink your chart. You can easily see. It's obvious that the market is actually what you finish. So you want to draw from this low to this high. Do you understand? You want to draw from this low to this high. Now, the reason why you can draw your inner trend line here is because number one, the outer trend line is too far from the current price action. Please jot all these things down. So you now want to draw this one again from here to A to accommodate. I think I lost my network. What is that? My hotspot just went off. I just didn't really need my hotspots. Alright, I'm back. So we want to accommodate this week and this week. Do you understand? So this is not too far from the price action, so I will leave it like this. So what do you want to do? You want to draw down to more lower time frame. So because our trend line is telling us bullish, buy. Do you understand? But don't forget your inner trend line. This is your inner trend line. Your inner trend line is not as strong as the normal trend line. As this normal trend line, it's not as strong as your normal trend line, because this one can easily fail. You understand? So when this one fails, the expecting price to come here, then we'll leave it for the next reaction point around this one here. So if price does something like this, breaks here, we'll be looking to sell, break and retest, sell to the next liquidity. This is the next opportunity liquidity here. I want to sell to this side, perhaps it might align, something like this. Then when we get there, we know what to do. So you want to sell to this zone here. You understand? Something like this. Come here, go like this, like this, like this, like this. Of course, price will not just go down like that. You want to do this thing, do something like this, then sell here. So when we get here, we wait for a reaction. Either it will start going up or it will still dump to the other end downside. You don't actually know. Do you understand? Now we're talking about inner trend line. This is our inner trend line. Now to get our entry, so you drop down to any lower time frame you want, 1 hour time frame or whatever. You go down to your lower time frame. Now you can decide to say you want to sell to this low, or you can decide to say you want to buy. Do you understand? If you want to buy, just draw your trend line like this and wait for price to break out. Let's assume, okay, before we got here, let's assume that before we got to this place here, price was still around this side here. Then we decided to buy. Decided to buy around this side here. You can see after the breakout, we don't have any retest here. Instead, the retest came dumping. I didn't have seen something like this. Breakout or the test. I think the test happened like this and started going up. Then we'll be looking towards buy after or above this close there. But price did not do that. Instead, the price started coming down. So what do you want to do? You want to change your inner trend line to something like this. Draw out your inner trend line from here. Draw it out here. Do you understand? Draw out your inner trend line here. Wait for break. You can see the break and the retest here. You have the breakout here. Then the retest around this side. So when price breaks above this and below this place, you want to sell immediately. When price breaks below this place, you want to do what? You want to sell immediately. You want to sell. You want to put your SL above this eye, then take your target to this place here. You don't understand, or anyhow you are interested in selling, or you can even decide to even short to this trend line zone here, depending on your risk appetite or risk and whatever. So that is pretty much it about your trend line. Do well to drop your comments, like the video, and subscribe to help our algorithm to push it out to more people to also view and be a part of our community. So what else do you need to talk about? Trendline. I think that'll be all for this Trendline episode. If you have any questions, don't worry, just drop them in the comment section and I'll of course attend to it. And if there's any need for me to make a video based on your question, I would make a video. So have a nice video. Stay GG.